Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Book Depths. Big Ideas for Curious Minds, An Introduction to Philosophy, is a book that argues that everyone, of any age, should read because it is important to understand life. It aims to show how philosophy might assist in understanding the complexity of life and open the path for ideas. 26 favorite wise ideas from many thinkers throughout history are presented in the book to enable readers to negotiate the challenges in their life more sensibly. It underlines that philosophy has always existed, since people have always needed help to control their emotions and grasp life. Published by the School of Life Press, the publishing division of the School of Life, a 2008-founded company providing programs, books, and services to enable modern people lead more involved and meaningful lives. They also create content-rich retail goods to highlight insightful cultural ideas. The School of Life is credited as the author and owns the copyright, while the book names Anna Doherty for illustrations. Developed a collection of content-rich, design-led retail products to promote useful insights and ideas from culture, they say. Seeking to build emotional intelligence, the School of Life uses psychology, philosophy, and culture to guide daily life. Here is an elaboration of each chapter. Introduction. What is philosophy? This chapter presents philosophy as the love of wisdom. Wisdom, then, is being sensible, compassionate, calm, and accepting of the challenges of life. It shows how philosophy can enable us to act more sensibly by means of examples of both foolish and wise reactions to common problems. Know yourself with Socrates. Inspired by Socrates, this chapter investigates the notion that our emotions in particular are not always very clear-cut. It helps to clarify that although our brain detects emotions, it is not always adept in determining their causes. By means of why questions to grasp the underlying causes of our emotions, it promotes introspection. Learn to say what's on your mind with Ludwig Wittgenstein. Inspired by Wittgenstein's theories, this chapter emphasizes how others need us to explain our own ideas and emotions, only we know them. It underlines the need of using words to establish a common knowledge by contrasting them with producing pictures with words. When the pictures in their heads aren't similar enough, misunderstandings result. It's hard to know what we really want. With Simone de Beauvoir. This chapter discusses why we often find that things we thought would make us happy don't, based on the philosophy of Simone de Beauvoir. It suggests that we need to question our desires, as they can be influenced by societal expectations, advertisements, and our own changing nature. True enjoyment comes more from experiences and relationships than from material possessions. When someone is angry, maybe it's not you who is responsible. With Ibn Sina. Inspired by Ibn Sina, this chapter proposes that a thorn in their paw, something invisible, often bothers enraged people. It helps us to consider what could be causing harm to others, instead of presuming right away that their wrath is aimed at us. People are unhappy, not mean. With Zira. Jacob. This chapter investigates the startling theory that people are mean because they feel small and unhappy inside. Inspired by Zira Jacob's ideas, it implies that people who have suffered often inflict suffering upon others. Knowing this will help us to see that the meanness isn't always about us and that we don't deserve poor treatment. Don't expect too much. With Seneca. Inspired by Seneca, this chapter suggests that our expectations greatly shape our level of happiness. We are more prone to be pleasantly surprised if we do not raise too high expectations. Seneca even said that since things usually go out better than expected, pessimists may find more pleasure. Maybe you are just tired. With Matsuo Basho. This chapter implies that occasionally our negative emotions are the result of basic physical factors like tiredness, hunger, or lack of fresh air, not anyone's fault. Motivated by Matsuo Basho, it reminds us that our mood can be much influenced by small actions. Usually ignoring these fundamental needs, we search for more general causes of our discontent. What is normal isn't normal. With Albert Camus. Inspired by Albert Camus, this chapter probes the idea of normal. It contends that what seems natural changes with time and differs greatly between groups. Actually, It is normal to be quite weird, since everyone has particular ideas and actions they usually hide. It helps us to accept our uniqueness and relax about others' opinions. No one knows, with René Descartes. Inspired by René Descartes, this chapter shows that even about crucial issues, adults do not know everything. It challenges us to consider the claimed knowledge of adults and realize that many of their ideas are merely viewpoints. Recalling this will enable us to appreciate the worth of our own ideas and help adults to be less frightening. Politeness matters with Confucius. Inspired by Confucius's lessons, this chapter underlines the need of politeness, since people are more delicate and readily offended than they seem. Simple, courteous gestures can have a rather strong positive effect. Confucius thought that a decent society depends on manners and etiquette, and that nasty words might be just as harmful as a sword. Why we procrastinate with Hypatia of Alexandria. This chapter investigates the causes of procrastination and makes the suggestion that fear of not doing something exactly usually drives it. Inspired by Alexandria's Hypatia, it contends that many times perfectionists are procrastinators. The answer is realizing that even if something is flawed, it is worth doing and starting little actions. Self-criticism is not the answer. Why it's hard to know what you want to do with your life with Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Why it's hard to know what you want to do with your life with Jean-Jacques Rousseau. This chapter answers the often asked question about future goals and advises us to concentrate on what we really enjoy instead of merely well-known or lucrative careers. Inspired by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, it emphasizes how closely future work interests and childhood play are related. It counsels focusing on and improving at constructive activities we enjoy. Good things are, unexpectedly, hard with Friedrich Nietzsche. Inspired by Friedrich Nietzsche, this chapter notes that even if they seem simple, many great and fascinating events in life are really rather difficult. Many times people ignore these challenges, which causes disappointment. Knowing that things will get easier with effort, Nietzsche advises acknowledging that they are difficult and acting anyway, since it will pay off greatly. Weakness of Strength Theory with Ralph Waldo Emerson. Inspired by Ralph Waldo Emerson, this chapter argues that every strength has a drawback as well. Oftentimes, being good at one thing results in less ability at another. This holds for people as well as for even non-living objects. It promotes pardon of our shortcomings as well as those of others. Kintsugi with Buddha. This chapter highlights the beauty in imperfection and repair by introducing the Japanese art of kintsugi, gold-based repair for broken objects. Inspired by the Buddhist philosophy, it extends this concept to people and relationships, implying that healing following breaking may strengthen things even more. The need to teach rather than nag with Immanuel Kant. Inspired by Immanuel Kant, this chapter contends that people's lack of understanding of why something is important renders nagging useless. Rather than nagging, we ought to educate and justify our ideas. Excellent instruction calls for listening, questioning, patience, and enthusiasm. According to Kant, knowledge should form the foundation for behavior rather than merely direction. The Mind-Body Problem with Jean-Paul Sartre. Inspired by Jean-Paul Sartre, this chapter explores the variations in our experience of ourselves, for ourselves, and others, for others. It advises against losing contact with our inner complexity and defining ourselves just from the viewpoints of others. It reminds us that behind appearances, everyone has a rich inner life. Why you feel lonely with Michel de Montaigne. This chapter explores loneliness and explains that, even in front of others, it usually results from our feeling of misinterpretation. Inspired by Michel de Montaigne, it reminds us that although the people in our immediate surroundings are a limited choice, there are probably many others who would know us. It helps us to see that connection is feasible and that we are more similar than different. The meaning of life with Aristotle. This chapter investigates the meaning of life and emphasizes that it is about what makes our life interesting and good, which mostly comes from fixing things, solving issues that matter to us. Inspired by Aristotle's concepts, it emphasizes the gratification in applying our abilities to reach significant objectives. It underlines how the effort and advancement in problem-solving define life. Why We Hate Cheap Things, with Mary Wollstonecraft. Inspired. By Mary Wollstonecraft, this chapter argues that even if they are nice, we often value things more when they are rare and expensive and undervalue cheap, easily available items. It advises deliberately focusing on small, everyday objects to value. The news doesn't always tell the whole story, with Jacques Derrida. Inspired by Jacques Derrida, this chapter shows how the news offers a very limited and often negative choice of what is happening in the world, so excluding the great majority of common, decent events. It reminds us that many wonderful things go unseen, and that the world is not as horrible as the news would portray. Art is advertising for what we really need, with Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. This chapter offers the fascinating theory that, for the vital aspects of life that are sometimes disregarded, such as kindness, respect of the environment, and solitude, art is like advertisement. Inspired by Hegel, it implies that art gives these abstract concepts relevance and real feel. Why do some people get paid more than others? With Adam Smith. This chapter investigates the causes behind various pay scales, stressing mostly how much others need it done and how many people can perform the job effectively. Inspired by Adam Smith's concepts, it also addresses the significance of non-financial incentives and the pressure connected with highly paid employment. What's fair? With John Rawls. Motivated by John Rawls, this chapter explores the difficult issue of justice. It explores what a fair society might look like using the thought experiment of selecting a nation to live in before birth, without knowing your social level. Rawls's idea of the veil of ignorance invites us to examine a society in which even the most underprivileged are rather well off. Shyness. How to overcome it with Maimonides. This chapter addresses shyness. It is defined as uncertainty about strangers. Inspired by Maimonides, it helps readers to realize that everyone feels shy occasionally, and that under surface differences, people have a lot in common. It promotes discovering common interests and reminds us that most likely others feel the same way. Why grown-up life is hard with philosophy. This last chapter notes the challenges of adult life, job discontent, relationship strife, and financial concerns, among other things. It implies that by offering insights and arming us for these difficulties, philosophy can be a life friend. Knowing possible future challenges helps us to grow in ability to handle them. Combine takeaways and how it will help the reader. This book provides access to philosophy, simplifying difficult concepts and proving their applicability to daily life. It emphasizes how philosophy improves self-awareness, improves communication, and helps one to develop a practical mindset toward the pleasures and difficulties of life. Recognizing the underlying reasons that mold behavior, readers will develop resilience, empathy, and a closer knowledge of themselves and others. The book guides readers through adulthood, appreciates small pleasures, and finds meaning in their activities by motivating curiosity and critical thinking. In the end, it motivates a feeling of connection and direction towards a more deliberate and happy life. Ultimately, this book empowers readers to think more deeply about themselves, their relationships, and the world around them, fostering wisdom and a more engaged and meaningful life. Why should we read this book? You should read this book if you wish to learn how to approach everyday events with more wisdom and understanding, and if you are interested in the big questions of life. It clarifies often regarded difficult philosophical ideas. The book avoids jargon and makes relevant examples. Thus, it is appropriate for all ages. It provides several philosophical stances on feelings, relationships, and personal problems. Encouragement of critical thinking, empathy, and self-reflection helps one to grasp both others and oneself. It also provides a fresh viewpoint on loneliness, anger, and disappointment, together with strategies for leading a better life. This book demonstrates that everyone who wants to comprehend and negotiate human complexity can find philosophy relevant. Thank you so much for tuning in to the channel today. We hope you found this overview of big ideas for curious minds insightful. If you enjoyed this and found it helpful in deciding whether to pick up the book, please give this video a like and share it with anyone you think might also be interested in exploring the world of philosophy.